Hello everyone. This is a desperate call for help. I am an NHS frontline key worker. I work in the Clyde sector of NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board. I have no other option but to black out my face due to the culture of bullying, fear, and intimidation put on nurses who speak out against NHS management and seniority. I am making this video as a last resort to reach out to the public as a whole for help. Each day I watch the news and press releases by the Scottish and UK governments. Each day it angers me as to how far from reality these are. I listen to the remarks about the P.P.E sent to hospitals that are protecting frontline NHS workers. I am making this video to expose exactly what this P.P.E is, and make the public completely aware of how useless it is in protecting healthcare workers who are risking their lives to care for others. Before I demonstrate the items that healthcare workers are expected to wear, I would like to make it extremely clear that this is not a mistake. These are the very items that have been chosen to be given to healthcare staff who are caring for patients diagnosed and displaying symptoms of the deadly coronavirus, COVID-19. These are the items of P.P.E that have been directed to be used by NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and the Scottish Government. Despite numerous complaints about not being protected, and multiple healthcare workers becoming ill and dying, due to contracting COVID-19, the NHS and Scottish Government still think it's okay to issue this useless P.P.E to vulnerable staff, intentionally putting them at severe risk of contracting COVID-19. Scientific experts have made it very clear that the COVID-19 bacteria is mainly transmitted through droplets in the air that have been expelled by the breath of people already infected with COVID-19. These droplets are proven to float in the air and drift about, instead of falling to the ground. This dangerously increases the likelihood of transmission from person to person. This is the mask that almost all healthcare workers are told to wear, when treating COVID-19 patients, by NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board. As you can see, it is worn by looping two small pieces of string around each ear. The wearer is meant to position this over their mouth and nose. This mask is not fitted to the face. This mask is not sealed. This mask does not have a valve or filter. As you can see, this mask fits very loosely on the wearer's face. There are numerous large areas exposing the person to breathing in any bacteria or droplets drifting or floating in the air. Numerous experts have confirmed these masks absolutely do not protect the healthcare workers from contracting COVID-19. All nursing and healthcare staff are at absolute risk of contracting COVID-19 when caring for patients wearing this absolutely useless P.P.E. Furthermore, as evidenced in the news articles related to the same, thousands of masks given to NHS staff had an original health and safety expiry date of 2016. These masks have now been deemed safe to use in 2020 by the same people who maintain they appropriately protect staff against COVID-19. This is the style of apron that has been directed to be used by nursing and healthcare workers by Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board when treating COVID-19 patients. As you can see, it's extremely thin and fragile. This does not cover the head, arms, or neck of the wearer. All of these areas are fully exposed to the potentially contaminated environment. This apron only covers a portion of the uniform worn by the frontline worker. This apron does not cover any areas where the frontline worker's skin is exposed to the environment potentially contaminated with infectious bacteria floating in the air. Regardless of the supposed scientific expert advice, common sense dictates that this apron is all but useless in protecting the wearer in contracting COVID-19. Despite multiple staff expressing fear of taking their contaminated uniforms home to their loved ones, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde senior managers have refused them use of on-site laundry facilities, and told them they must take contaminated uniforms home and wash them in their family residence. This has culminated in intimidation and threatening behavior, leading to staff having to resort to contacting MPs for help. Despite a small amount of fitted masks with valves and filters being provided only for areas that carry out procedures where tubes are inserted into the airway of the patients, the vast majority of wards and areas are instructed to use the very PPE I have just demonstrated to treat patients diagnosed with COVID-19. In areas where close proximity is a must, to help care for the patient, who may need assistance with washing, changing or feeding, the useless PPE I have just demonstrated is directed to be worn. In areas such as mental health, where distressed patients may require extremely close proximity nursing for many reasons, this is the useless PPE that has been instructed to be worn for COVID-19 patients. This is the leader of the UK who thinks this is okay and acceptable. This is the Health Minister of the UK who thinks this is okay and acceptable. This is the leader of Scotland who thinks this is okay and acceptable. This is the Health Minister of Scotland who thinks this is okay and acceptable. This is the Chief Executive of Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board responsible for health and safety who thinks this is okay and acceptable. This is a list of the names of just some of the NHS healthcare workers who have died protecting others. I want the whole of the UK to see the reality of what is going on in the fight against COVID-19. Do not just watch this video. Everyone watching, please share it. Share it everywhere. If every person who watches this video shares it, it will reach the maximum amount of the general public, so that everyone can know the reality of what is actually going on. Share this video everywhere to catch the attention of BBC, ITV, and Sky journalists. All journalists and reporters who are watching this video, use this video to demand answers from those both responsible and culpable for the decisions made. Everyone who is watching this video, please share it far and wide so it reaches the attention of those for whom it is intended. In memory of all those who have died protecting the sick and vulnerable, I as a faceless frontline worker, demand that those responsible are held to account for their absolutely unnecessary deaths. Common sense dictates that the PPE provided is useless. So why then does the country's elite, who are paid by the public to protect the public, think it is okay? Enough is enough. Share this video. Don't just clap for our frontline NHS workers, share this video and help protect them now, just as they risk their lives to protect all of you. I thank you all for sharing this on behalf of all NHS and frontline workers. Let us all stand together.